Well, good morning, or bore da, or perhaps more appropriate, guten Morgen. We are on the outskirts of a town called Muggensturm, I believe, which is halfway between Karlsruhe and Baden-Baden, in sort of Black Forest country. It's not our final destination for this trip. We drove down from Dunkirk yesterday. Not any footage of that, because unless you want to watch sort of waterlogged motorways, traffic jams and roadworks, there wasn't really a lot to see. We took a direct route down, but today's hopefully going to be a little bit more scenic, so yeah, we'll see from here. So after setting off, we head towards the Black Forest High Road. This was a really beautiful drive, even though part of it was closed off for roadworks. Again, travelling off season has its perils, but the colours were beautiful, the trees coming into autumn, and the actual drive itself was stunning and highly recommended. So after a lovely tranquil drive, we got to chill out at the end of the day in a brilliant stop, one which we managed to find on Path the Night, refreshments and a peaceful night to follow. So good morning from the Black Forest in Germany. We spent the night last night in the car park over the Rothaus, which is the state's brewery for this area. Really good night. Unfortunately it was Friday night, we couldn't get in for food because they were fully booked, but we did have some tasty local beers. A really cool facility actually. If it was a nicer day today, we'd have gone out walking into the grounds a little bit. There's a museum here, there's obviously a brewery tour if you're here at the right times. But yeah, cool stop, cost us nothing. On to the next country now. So a very short drive took us to the Swiss border. Now border is probably a bit of an exaggeration. It was literally driving under something that looked like a garage forecourt. And not surprisingly, going into Switzerland, we found it was, well, quite Germanic actually. Our first stop of note in Switzerland was at the Rheinfall. Now this is the largest and most powerful waterfall in Europe apparently, and just a few miles over the border from Germany. Now as usual, we've mapped out a sort of rough route of where we're going to go, and after visiting the Rheinfalls, we head to join what's known as the Swiss Grand Tour. Now this is supposed to give us a view of all the sort of highlights of Switzerland in one loop. But as you can see, the weather wasn't friendly for us as we got to our next stop. So the first initiation we had to Swiss culture was the lovely little town of Appenzell, which was still a little bit Germanic in the style of the houses, but also quite different as well, with all the painted sort of facades and everything. Really pretty little place, very quiet on a Sunday in the drizzle, but they did have a cheese festival on, which, well, you know, that's welcome wherever you go in the world. So we just had a lovely peaceful night in the town of Appenzell, really cute little German town. And it was free for us because we got here after 6 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, and it's free until Monday morning. So yeah, 2 dedicated motorhome stops here, although it is maximum 24 hours. But yeah, great little stopping off spot. Unfortunately the weather's still really rubbish, so we're in the shadow of a lovely mountain range, but we can't see any of it at the moment because it's just rain and mist. But we're going into the mountains, so hopefully we'll get a bit better in terms of views as the day goes on. So again, the weather wasn't the best as we left Appenzell and headed up into the mountains. Now this is really why we've come to Switzerland. We love the mountains, we love being amongst them, and even despite the terrible weather, it was still a sort of really fantastic experience, especially as we got further up and the rain turned to snow and everything started getting that white coating. Absolutely beautiful. I was thinking the snow chains were an extravagance. Just dodging the snowplow. So I'm not going to lie, even though I live in Wales, it's mostly rain we get, not snow, and it did feel slightly sketchy coming downhill, especially as we were sort of mid-blizzard. But pretty soon we got below the snow line and it was back to the beautiful autumn colours. We drove a little bit further down, actually drove through Liechtenstein, which was a sort of blink and you'll miss it sort of experience. We were in there, I think, for a maximum of about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, and then came back out into Switzerland again. So just stretching our legs a little bit. First place we've been able to pull over for a few miles just because everywhere was just under about 8 inches of snow. But it's we've just come from Davos over a pass starting with F. I don't know what it's called, but the road's fairly clear. Nice drive. So we just pulled up in our campsite, camping at Chapella. We did actually have a free spot, which was, I've just seen that somebody's out in a tent there. It's like 1 degree and it's snowing. Yeah, fair dues. Yeah, we did have a free park up, or at least a cheap park up on one of the national park sites, but there's no camping or no overnighting allowed. We're seeing this quite a bit here actually. I don't know what it's going to be like after November the 1st because campsites all close, so I don't know whether the restrictions are a little bit less tightly enforced after that time, but we got somewhere for tonight anyway. And what a stunning drive today, and not a bad view from the van. Morning. So up and early this morning. A wise man once said to me, at least he thought he was wise, fail to prepare, prepare to fail. So I wouldn't give him the satisfaction of knowing he was right on this occasion, but he was. We've managed to get down into the mountains, only to find that the high passes in the mountains are closed. Snow is kicking in, it looks like, for the winter. So some of the passes as we go across are no longer open, so we might have to just look at our options. But we're heading back inland. We're just going over something called the Juliar Pass, I believe. It is one of the main passes. It is open at the moment, but we are forecast heavy snow today, so we've got to get through it ASAP and see where we go from there. Morning. We're in a place called Glarus Nord. Lovely day today. It was horrendous yesterday. Apart from going over the mountain passes when it was beautiful, it just turned to rain for the rest of the day, which is a little bit disheartening. Woke up to this morning though, which we couldn't see any of it yesterday. Also, there's like 2 alpacas on the campsite, obviously. We had kind of made a decision. We were going to head into Germany through Austria just because of the mountain pass closures. I mean, we timed it perfectly wrong, if that makes sense. However, here we are today. Just got some company. We just had to break up almost an altercation between Chili, trying to scare off two animals that are about 20 times their size. So a couple of comments about Switzerland then. First of all, clearly it's beautiful. The weather's been a bit but when it has cleared up, it's stunning. As motorhomers, we've had some problems. Wild camping is not tolerated here. I mean, literally like every sort of pull-in virtually you see in the mountains has got a no overnight camping sign on it. And actually the towns aren't quite as campervan friendly as Germany either, so we've struggled a little bit because of poor planning on our part. A lot of the campsites close at the end of October. It's now the very end of October coming into November, so we've struggled a little bit. So yeah, we were going to turn around going to Germany, but we found a route through which isn't affected by mountain passes being closed, and also will get us to see some of the things that we wanted to see, and there are campsites along that route that seem like they're open, so fingers crossed it's going to work out okay. It's been an interesting day's drive. We had a couple of plans en route. Lake Thun, which looked stunning as we drove past it, and it has been a beautiful drive today in the sun. We hit more problems with parking up. We will usually use Park for Night. It's usually really good. Quite a lot of the places we found on there are not. They don't permit overnight parking in Switzerland. It's become a little bit of an annoyance as we've come down. And it has kind of meant that we've had to drive through or drive past places that otherwise we were looking to stop in. Anyway, we're heading back to the south of the country now. We have found a vehicle train that will take us close to Zermatt, or within a short drive of Zermatt, which we're going to go to tomorrow, which is where the Matterhorn is. Not too bad, 28 Swiss francs, so about 28 quid. It's like a 20-minute drive through the through a tunnel, which will bring us out the other side of the mountains. Our other option would have been a mountain pass, which unfortunately is closed, so that's not an option, but at least there's an alternative on this one, so that's quite good. So refreshing 6 degrees here this morning, in between all the mountains. A restful night last night. We're in a place called Gampel. Struggled to find somewhere again yesterday, but this place was fine. 29 Swiss francs for the night, so about 28 quid, 27 quid. All the amenities here, to be fair. Unfortunately, the app that they use here, my phone couldn't sort it yesterday, and my PayPal wouldn't pay. Because I think they were worried there was some sort of dodgy activity going on. So that was fine. We were just going to leave cash today, but we had a knock on the doors 5 or 7 this morning, so I don't know if he's used to people just driving off and not paying, but anyway, paid. A very nice man. He kind of looks in the nicest way possible like a gnome. He's got like a really long white beard and like a colourful hat, but he was nice. As I say, apart from the fact that it was 5 past 7, it was quite a nice interaction. So it's been an interesting day's drive. We had a couple of plans en route. Lake Thun, which looked stunning as we drove past it, and it has been a beautiful drive today in the sun. We hit more problems with parking up. We will usually use Park for Night. It's usually really good. Quite a lot of the places we found on there are not. They don't permit overnight parking. In Switzerland, it's become a little bit of an annoyance as we've come down. And it has kind of meant that we've had to drive through or drive past places that otherwise we were looking to stop in. Anyway, we're heading back to the south of the country now. We have found a vehicle train that will take us close to Zermatt, or within a short drive of Zermatt, which we're going to go to tomorrow, which is where the Matterhorn is. Not too bad, 28 Swiss francs, so about 28 quid. It's like a 20-minute drive through the through a tunnel, which will bring us out the other side of the mountains. Our other option would have been a mountain pass, which unfortunately is closed, so that's not an option. But at least there's an alternative on this one, so that's quite good. So if I was to describe Zermatt in a couple of words, the first would be beautiful, obviously, because of where it is and what's on its doorstep. It's also quite interesting because there's no cars or buses knocking around there. There's just these little vehicles that they use to sort of maintain what's going on. It's also quite rarefied, financially, I mean. If I ever wanted to buy an overpriced watch, I know where I'd go to do it now. But also quite a lot of cheap tat there as well, because you know not everybody there is buying a Rolex, but still well worth the visit. Sort of fairly unique, and just to see the Matterhorn, to be honest, was worth it. So, another nice spot for the night, and goodness gracious me if it's not free. Maximum 48 hours, camper vans welcome. Yeah, so going up to Zermatt and the Matterhorn was cool. So Zermatt is car free, so we had to park in a place called Tesch, and get a train up, like a shuttle train. About 10 euros to 10 Swiss francs to park, so not far off 10 quid, which I thought was alright actually for 12 hours. And also I think it was about 34 francs for the train up for the both of us, return tickets. Quite why you wouldn't have a return ticket, I'm not sure, but they can't drive up there. So, but anyway, yeah, not the cheapest but not the most expensive. It's about a 20-minute train journey up. And then we spent about an hour walking around, had a glimpse of the Matterhorn. Didn't decide to go up on the cable car in the end, but it cost us about 200 quid. The clouds were coming over. Yeah, we just didn't feel like we needed to give that extra expense really, but it was really impressive seeing the mountain at least. So a glorious morning this morning, waking up next to the vineyards. We are now in a place famous for cheese, Gruyere. Although I wanted to come here for a different reason, but it's really pretty up here. It's kind of a switch from the mountains to a really sort of agricultural landscape really. Lots of cows, lots of rolling hills, very green. So yeah, might be that the snow's behind us now, but what a lovely time it's been. So the lovely historic medieval village of Gruyere is located at the top of a hill, sort of a hilltop fortress if you like, and it really is beautiful, which is one of the reasons why Swiss artist H.R. Geiger purchased a chateau in the property to house a permanent exhibition of his art. So for science fiction fans and fans of the Alien franchise in particular, must visit obviously for H.R. Geiger's exhibition, but it showcases all of his art really across different formats. It's well worth the visit. Then just across the way, carrying on the sort of slightly eerie biomechanical theme, is the museum bar. Again, a must visit. It's a very unique, very small but very unique bar, and the green beer was actually quite nice. Of course, Gruyere cheese is also the main ingredient of famous Swiss dish fondue, so it would have been rude not to try that. So next morning we went to the oldest chocolate factory in Switzerland. It's actually Kehleur, not Gaylor. Sorry about the spelling mistake there, but I can't do anything about it now. Again, beautifully situated in the Swiss countryside. Then it was on to one final stop in Switzerland at Neuchâtel. Now this beautiful lakeside town is like a university town, very vibrant place, lots of beautiful historic buildings and also stunning views from the lakeside across to the mountains. An absolutely stunning spot actually, and we would have spent a couple of nights here had we known how nice it was going to be. So now, with the rain as our ever-present companion, we head back into Germany through Bavaria to do something we didn't get a chance to do last time, which was just go to a traditional German beer hall to try great beers and also local traditional food. And what a great experience this was in Kloster Andex. Oh, and by the way, Chili really enjoyed her piece of pork knuckle too. So, back in Bavaria. We stayed here last night, so this is Kloster Andex. The brewery is just here, the sort of guest house inn is up there where we went for some drinks and some food last night. Awesome spot. It's literally like 5 minutes walk from where we parked up. Thankfully, after a few litres of Doppelbock. But yeah, €25 including electricity. Morning. So that was a great park up. €8 for the night, including electric, which was really good. Definitely not Swiss prices. We parked in the just underneath, I think it's Harburg Castle, which is one of the best preserved medieval castles in Europe. Heading a little bit further up the Romantische Strasse today. Sorry about that. And see what the day brings. So, for our last night in Germany, we chose an absolute doozy of a place to visit. Now, this is the lovely historic walled city of Rothenburg ob der Tauber, and it's a very, very famous place in Germany. This part of it, in fact, is one of the most photographed places in the whole of the country. But it's a medieval town, it's absolutely stunning. It's sort of like the unofficial German capital of Christmas, it seems like, with dedicated Christmas shops and nutcrackers everywhere, and well worth a visit. We will definitely be back. So, next stop for us is in Belgium, and again, somewhere I wanted to visit previously, not far from Brussels, and that is the Waterloo Battle Site and the 1815 Waterloo Museum. Fascinating story and well worth a visit to the museum, although these steps up to the Lion Monument nearly killed me. But it gives you a fantastic overview of the battle site, and it was a nice day for once to take it all in. Then, just a few minutes walk from where we parked up, is the Old English Field Hospital from the battle, which has now been turned into a brasserie and brewery. It is Belgium after all. This was a very smart place indeed, and we enjoyed some very, very tasty local beers there. Last couple of days we've been a bit busy with driving. Obviously Waterloo yesterday. We stayed last night in the car park at the Waterloo, the 1815 Memorial Museum. It was fine, you just need to ask permission at the museum. There was no issue. We'd seen some like dodgy reviews of it from Park for Night saying that the people had issues there. We didn't see anything. There were some voices, I think people returning from the brasserie quite late, but apart from that, no issues overnight whatsoever. So yeah, it was a good stop. Driven about an hour and a half further west now. I went back in Ypres, which is somewhere we visited on our last trip, but we didn't get in early enough for me to visit the museum here, so that's what I'm going to do now, and Steph's going to join me later for our last lovely Belgian beers of the trip. So Ypres is really a fascinating place to visit, and if you'd watched our last video you'll know there's so much around here. If you've got an interest in the First World War particularly, it is an absolutely fascinating place to go to. I didn't make it to the In Flanders Fields Museum last time, so I did that while I was here this time. And again, really great for, you know, an overview of the conflict. And the fascinating thing about the town itself is nearly all of it was rebuilt after the war. It's also within a few miles of some of the greatest breweries on earth, so it's no surprise. The beer was fantastic. So that brings us to the end of the trip. It was a bit of a weird one. We were fighting the weather a lot of the way. We were fighting off-season problems, places to camp, but still Switzerland is a beautiful place. We're glad we went there. We may go back again in the future, although plan it slightly differently next time. And as always, coming back through Belgium, Germany, always a pleasure. So yeah, a great trip again. Thanks very much for watching anyway. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.